This is Shifting Our Schools, episode 117, Virtual School Happy Hour, week 1.
The goal has been like instructions paused, and we're going back to like basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have kids in a new spot, and they need to feel safe, and they need to feel secure, and they need to stay connected. And so like we've really paused. Like we sent home some enrichment activities, but for the most part, it's just like get connected with your kids, like make sure they know you're still there, make sure that we're checking in.
Listen up, educators. Are you looking to take your classroom to the next level? The technological shift in education is happening right now. If you're looking to integrate technology into your classroom, you're in the right place. Welcome to Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Shifting Our Schools. Thank you for tuning in this week. If you are looking for help or want to share resources around virtual school, we have set up a Tech Coaches Unite Slack account for tech coaches to share resources and support each other around different topics. Of course, virtual school being the hot topic of the hour in the community, where everyone is sharing their experiences and trying to support each other the best we can. You can join our Slack community by going to sospodcast.org and clicking on Tech Coaches Unite in the menu at the top. In fact, this week's episode comes from this community. I decided to hold a happy hour and ask anyone in the community who would like to join me in a Zoom room to talk about how things are going and to support each other. You too can join us if you are looking for some connections, some place to bounce ideas or ask questions of others who find themselves in a similar situation. That's what this week's crew was all about, hearing everyone's stories and helping each other out where we can as we all try to figure our way through this new reality we find ourselves in. If you think that I might be able to support you or your school in any way, please do not hesitate to reach out. I've been holding virtual meetings with admin teams, teacher groups, and school leaders, as well as virtual PD sessions with groups of teachers. You can reach me via the contact form at sospodcast.org or by emailing me at sospodcast@gmail.com or over at jeffutech.com and use the contact form there. This week, I host the first of what I hope to be virtual happy hours with teachers and tech coaches who find themselves either preparing for virtual learning or are already in it. During the show, they also shared a host of resources for others to use, so many that I can't add them all to the show's description, so you'll need to go to sospodcast.org/episode 117, where you'll find the resources shared and mentioned in this week's episode. And with that, on with the show. Well, I'm so glad to have our first virtual happy hour. I think this could become a thing. I don't know how many other virtual happy hour meetings people are having, but it's good to get there, see everybody. I'm just going to have everybody quickly introduce themselves. Tell us kind of what your role is and what district you're at, so that everybody here kind of gets to hear everybody's thing. And then we'll kind of talk about your different stories and how your schools are doing. There's just so much great stuff going on. So I'm going to start in my top left-hand corner with Stefan. Hi, Stefan. Give us a quick rundown. Where are you at? Role?
So I'm in Moses Lake, center of the state, and I'm the high school technology coach. So I've got a counterpart who is probably in Ellensburg at this point, Monica, and she's K-8. So my position was created to support our high schools. They went 1-to-1 last year. So I'm the tech instructional coach, but just kind of wear whatever hat that means. So yeah.
Awesome. Matt, how about you?
So I'm in Portland, Oregon. I'm the technology integration specialist for the Portland Jewish Academy. It's a little independent K-8 school. And we're 1-to-1 with 3 through 8th grade. So everyone had Chromebooks, and then we kind of sent back from K-2.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Jen?
I'm Jen Longmire, instructional technology TOSA, whatever hat you want me to wear at the moment, in Enumclaw. So we're 1-to-1, 5 through 12, and just deployed 5th grade, check out Chromebooks. Since school was closed before we were ready for it to be closed, they did that yesterday and the day before, I think, to 5th grade parents who wanted them.
Congratulations, kids. I know we weren't telling you could take your Chromebooks home, but now you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Jeff. I'm Bob Kilmer from Enumclaw School District. I'm a part-time instructional technology coach / TOSA in the Enumclaw School District. I work with Jen.
Cool. And Chris.
Hi, guys. Chris Butler, Instructional Technology, TOSA, in Hood River, Oregon. We are 1-to-1 6-12, although the 6 through 8 don't take them home. So we're going to work on deploying those out, and we're 2-to-1 elementary level, and we're trying to figure out how to get devices into kids' hands right now.
Awesome. Katie.
Hey, you guys. So I am Royal City Ed Tech here for the district, and at the moment we are 1-to-1 in our middle school with take-home devices, and we're frantically trying to figure out how to do a high school rollout here, if it's even possible. So would love some insight.
Very cool. Tyler.
Hello. So I'm an instructional tech coach from Sunnyside. We currently our juniors and seniors have their devices at home. We've got enough to send home with 9th and 10th grade, but we're still figuring out the logistics. Actually, I think there's like 1,000 Chromebooks somewhere between China and here. So we'll see them next year is my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Jeez. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. So Nicole Laborte, I teach choir and orchestra at Enumclaw School District, and I am also a blended learning leader for them as well. So I work with Jen and Bob.
Awesome. And I see Tina's iPad is here. Tina, do you have audio?
Yes.
Oh, there
I
you
do.
go. Oh, there's your video.
I'm in the sunshine.
Oh, look at you. You even got outside. Gorgeous.
Beautiful. I'm Tina Schmidt from Ording School District. And I think I missed the question, but I think I understand it. Where are we with tech? They're all still pretty much in the cases because we were stuck at where to start. But we did pass out Chromebooks to all the teachers that needed them yesterday.
Cool.
So
well, that's a good
we
start.
don't want to send them home right now until we can get a plan on all the Wi-Fi and hotspots. So that's our struggle right now.
Cool. And I have Dave's iPhone. Is Dave going to unmute and talk to us? Or is he just going to listen? He might just be listening, which is all fine. That's good to hear too. Awesome. Well, let's get started with that. On some of you I know had to roll out devices. There's Dave. Hi, Dave.
I am not going to just lurk.
That's okay.
Hey, Dave Slagle, I'm the principal at Ording Middle School. Tina and our team to equitable way.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So let's start with that. What were some of the frantic things that you went through? How did your school handle that? So I'm going to start with Jen, because I think you were one of the first people to kind of mention that about getting devices quickly, having to figure out how to get devices out. What did that look like for you and Bob and for Enumclaw?
It's kind of crazy. We already had all of our middle school and high school students already had their devices with them, so that wasn't an issue. Our 5th grade students, we'd already sent home a survey asking parents, do you need a device? Because we didn't want to assume that, okay, that's making me really jealous watching you drink that, for the record.
Sorry, it's happy hour.
Anyway, so then we sent out a survey, a Google form to 5th grade parents that were in 5th grade. They're 1-to-1, but they don't take them home. And so we asked who was interested in having one, thinking that we wouldn't. I think district office thought we wouldn't have many that said yes, and I think we only had 10 that said no.
Cool.
So they went school to school and checked out devices to everybody.
That's cool. And what about for K for 4? What'd you do for K for 4?
And nothing yet. We are still in the process of talking and figuring out what we can do.
Cool.
All teachers are required, though, to put some sort of enrichment activity in their Google Classroom. And so we've been creating stuff to send out to parents on how to access Google Classroom, how to get information out to everybody equally. That's been a struggle.
Cool. Hi, Shannon. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late. I lost track of time.
It's totally fine. I don't think there is like a start time, end time to this. I think we're just kind of like rolling with it. So it's not. Hey. Yeah, nice. I like the drink.
Hey. I got it. Got a beverage.
That's what counts. Awesome. Anybody else want to talk about how the rollout kind of went?
Yeah, so we are in Moses 1-to-1 512 already.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. Well, I mean, I don't know, kind of cool, right? But we got called on Wednesday because our district tried to get ahead of the curve. So they called Monica and I, and we decided Thursday, Friday, we're going to start prepping things just in case. And then, I mean, that like evolved super rapidly, right, to 1:30 on Friday with Inslee. So we had some stuff created already by the time Friday rolled out. We were part of that conversation already, which was cool. We did some real last minute training on what we called essential tools on Monday morning. And then planned, the big sticking point was getting devices to K4 because they hadn't been taking them home. Some of them we had enough devices. Our district's been working for a long time to really just kind of flood with devices. So the plan was break apart the cows, the computers on wheels, get those, and they came up with this like really fast plan to check things out and get them to kids in the library and go. And last I heard, which was yesterday, we're looking at a district of about 8,000 plus, and I think there was something like 30 kids didn't have a computer.
Wow,
So
that's not bad.
Yeah, our current sticking point is hotspots. So we have some grant-funded hotspots, and they've ordered some more, but they're on back order. And so we have a significant chunk of people without internet access. Yeah, I mean, we're sitting in a pretty good spot, all said and done with that, just because we kind of had the groundwork laid for that already.
Yeah, and I think something to remember too, right, is this is only week one, and it's fast. It's incredible. It's been incredible to watch how fast districts have been able to move in 1 week. You know, when you really stop and think about it, it really has just been an incredible ramp up for everybody, and everybody's in such different spots. But it's been it's amazing what happens when we actually have to do some stuff where stuff goes. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience down there in Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're an independent school, so it's a little different. You know, we're not about 190 kids total, but we came back from NCCE and immediately started talking with the admin about virtual school and planning. And we had a staff development day on Friday. So we ended up, as things kind of progressed, to scrap what the original plan was. And we trained the teachers all day Friday. And we had hoped to have the kids back on Monday, but again, that didn't work out. But the kids came back on Tuesday to pick up their devices. But we ended up using Flipgrid for a lot of instructional videos on how to use Classroom and how to use Zoom, because we're basically using Classroom and Zoom, and then Flipgrid for those who want to use it. But at least for the families on figuring out how to do a lot of this stuff, we had one of our Makerspace teacher cranked out a bunch of like kind of instructional short videos on how to do a bunch of stuff, and he threw it all up in a Flipgrid, and it seemed to work pretty well. And we had a lot of Wednesday we rolled out virtual school, and I wasn't as inundated as you would think for for just throwing it together.
Yeah. What a great use of Flipgrid too, is a way to just like a bunch of little videos all in one spot. Once people get the Flipgrid, you almost make like your own little YouTube-y, like you just have all these videos that you need there, instructional videos. That's a great idea. I like the way that kind of worked out. Tyler, how about you? How's it been going in Sunnyside?
One of the things that I've really appreciated in how everything's been handled so far is like week one, the goal has been like instructions paused, and we're going back to like basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like we have kids in a new spot, and they need to feel safe, and they need to feel secure, and they need to stay connected. And so like we've really paused, like we sent home some enrichment activities, but for the most part, it's just like get connected with your kids, like make sure they know you're still there, make sure that we're checking in. Like I know at the district level, the first thing they did was how are we getting food to kids. And so it's been really cool to see, like, we're definitely moving in the direction of, okay, now how do we help continue learning? But I really appreciated that, like, that was the pause first, is are kids safe? Do they have food? Like, are their needs met? And then we're moving on to, okay, how are we going to provide them learning opportunities? And we're looking at it from, like we talked a little bit about, kids don't come to school for content. Like obviously we want them to get content, but we're thinking also about like how can we still provide like connection? Like can we connect them with their friends? Actually, the high school is running a virtual Spirit Week next week that I'm really excited to see how it turns out. Where kids are, it's like, which I think is funny. The first one is pajama day, and I'm like, well, that's been all week. So,
that'll be an easy one, right?
So it's just, yeah, it's been cool to see that. Like, so often, sometimes we forget that education is about a whole lot more than just filling kids' brains with stuff. And so it's been this, you know, and all the chaos that's been going on. I feel like that's been a good reminder for me.
Yeah, that's great. Katie, how about you? Let's talk to you next. So like, where are you at? What are some questions that you have that maybe this group can maybe help you with? Because you talked a little bit about trying to figure out what was available. What could you do in Royal City?
Yeah. So when this was all happening, you know, I reached out to our leadership team, and everyone was pretty panicked. They were trying to, I guess, just kind of get things in order prior to it happening. Our big problem, from what I can tell with our ed tech and kind of moving forward with virtual learning, is equity for our kids, both IEP kids and kids without internet. You know, being in a rural area, we definitely have areas that do not even have cell service still. So, you know, we've got that handful, you know, 10 to 15% of kids that don't even have cell service, or potentially don't have a smartphone, and trying to, you know, encourage, you know, the use of technology in a blended environment. And so we're still very much in the early stages of trying to get anything going. We're meeting, I believe each grade level is meeting with their principals Monday during set hour, like a single hour. And then we're going to come up with like a project-based learning opportunity, whether that's a virtual option or a paper or a blended. It's just really up in the air right now. One thing that our tech director wanted me to bring to you guys was how do we roll out devices with social distancing in place, you know, and how do we, I mean, like, you know, just bounce those ideas and kind of develop maybe a framework of what's worked well for you guys. So making sure that we have the student, actually our students, taking our devices for one, but, you know, we're going to go to these meeting points where we're dropping food, you know, breakfasts and lunches, and getting those devices to our high school students or some of our 4th through 6th graders, if that's even an option. So, you know, anything at this point in time would be helpful when we get there.
All right, cool. So let's break down some of your questions then, and we'll try to answer them one at a time. Let's first tackle the equitability issue of does anybody, and somebody can raise their hand and then I'll let you chat, but what has your district kind of done, or how has your district kind of worked? Because I know a lot of the districts that are represented in this call are rural and probably facing a lot of the same challenges you are, that not every kid has Wi-Fi or a device. Are there anybody here have an idea of how your district's doing that, or how are you doing that as a teacher, or what's it look like? Nicole, let's start with you.
Well, I know within my building, we were lucky that we kind of preemptively planned for us closing on Tuesday because we had school and service on Friday. So we actually, as a grade level team, sent out a form to all of our students and had everyone fill it out before we left. So we actually generated a list of kids that we knew would not have access to internet. And then as a teacher, what I did with those kids that had come up to me and talked to me about it, we have like a master Google Doc going of all the kids that we know don't have access. And I tried to connect them with at least one peer that had like their phone number or contact info, so that they could come into town, download what they need, and then go back if they need to, as things get posted.
That's a cool idea. So trying to just get that list and then trying to connect those kids to somebody who might. Awesome. Anyone else have a way that their school district's doing this? Jen?
So what we did K-12, since we can't ensure equity for everyone, we're kind of rural as well. We've got big areas that don't have cell service or Wi-Fi. We're asking teachers to upload once a week onto Google Classroom. Yes, it's a virtual area, I know, but to upload some enrichment activities that kids could get involved in. Doesn't have to be done on their technology. And then elementary, since we can't get devices to most of our elementary kids yet, they're putting stuff in paper packet form that is also being posted in the Google Classroom, but then is available for pickup outside the school offices. So Mondays, we're asking that everyone upload their enrichment stuff. And on Tuesdays, those packets need to be ready to be picked up K-5. And really encouraging people to think outside the box that, yes, it's a paper packet, but it doesn't mean it has to be paper and pencil. What kinds of things can you encourage kids to go out and do and explore that is outside of doing a math packet problem, those kinds of things. So that starts Monday. We gave this week for teachers to kind of wrap their heads around stuff. Monday we go.
I like that. Chris?
We have a similar kind of concept that we've talked about, and we're similar because we're a countywide school district. We've got kids all over the place, and several without Wi-Fi access. So I don't know for sure about how we're going to handle the Wi-Fi access piece, but as far as the question about deployment of devices out to kids that weren't able to take them home because this was happening, and we're kind of in a lucky spot, I guess you could say, because we have spring break next week, so we have kind of a week to figure all this out. We've been told, don't work, enjoy your spring break, but that's not going to happen. So we talked about the idea. We're starting out with mostly packets, similar to what Enum Claw is doing for the younger kids, the elementary kids, to kind of get things rolling. As far as the deployment of the devices, an idea was brought up to put devices on school buses and deliver them to school bus pickup, like the spots where kids catch the bus in the mornings at certain times, so they could show up there. So that's kind of solved some of that social distancing aspect to it. And that, kids, families that can't necessarily get into the district office or wherever the school, wherever they are, can just get to their school bus site where they get picked up. So that's something we're exploring as far as getting the devices out.
Cool.
So, Chris, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, Chris, are you inviting any of those families into a specific location outside of those bus drops, or at the school or anything like that?
I don't know where that plan is in place right now. We talked about it yesterday in kind of a virtual meeting, and I haven't heard anything about it today, so I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Tyler, will you talk a little bit about, because I thought I was awesome, you put it out on Twitter, kind of the matrix tic-tac-toe board, or kind of the matrix that you put together for your high school kids, for some of those kids that aren't online all the time or can't get there?
Yeah, I just used the concept of a choice grid. So like each row focuses on a specific area of learning, I guess. And then when you go across the columns, are just different opportunities they could engage in that learning. It was kind of, I threw it together because I knew something was happening and we weren't quite as prepared as we wanted to be. But yeah, I think the piece that I really wanted to get, and the piece that I'm worried about looking forward is how much choice and control students are going to have over their learning. Because I know teachers are doing everything they can just to connect with students and get that content piece going. But I was worried that if I just send them home with one worksheet, kids weren't going to have any say over their learning. But it also allowed me to do a blend of, if you have Wi-Fi, if you have internet access, here are some learning opportunities you can engage in. And if you don't, here are other ways that you could do that same learning or practice that content. We're really being encouraged not to put out new content at this point. We're kind of taking it week by week, but right now let's take the skills that they're working on and let's practice that. So even simple things if they're working on the circumference of something, find a circle in your living space and measure the circumference of it or something like that. But the nice thing is it was actually really simple to put together. It didn't take me that long at all. And now there's 20 learning opportunities that they have on one piece of paper. And the way that I structured it with my kids is they just had to do it, and their caretaker had to sign off on it. That was it. There's kind of an honor system. They get some say over it, but yeah, I don't know. Just if someone's looking for a quick solution that doesn't rely on internet, and I know that equity piece is huge for us right now. We're trying to figure out even our seniors, and actually we talked about it, even our staff. We have staff members that live far enough out that they don't have access to internet. So yeah, we're trying to figure that out, and I think the answer is going to have to be a blended approach to it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you don't mind, could you throw that that tweet that you had with that resource into our chat? And for those of you that are here live with me, there is a chat that we can be running and talking over to the side if you want to as well. We also are joined by Jessica and Linda, the team teaching duo from Richland. And seeing that we're kind of on this high school thing with Tyler being high school, can you guys maybe talk about what are some of the strategies you're using for this not every kid has a device thing?
Sounds like we're kind of in similar limbo with are we teaching or not kind of thing. But all our kids have devices at the high school level. I went and actually picked up my elementary son, so middle school, high school, already 1-to-1. The elementary was kind of interesting. They said to come in and pick up the device, but they had tables across the doors, so you didn't enter the school. You lined up on dots that were spaced out 6 feet apart, walked up, hand sanitized your hands, grabbed a clean pen from the clean pen bin, signed the Chromebook waiver if you wanted the Chromebook. They handed you your kids' stuff. Then you put your pen in the dirty pen bin and you left. So it was very controlled. I went to the middle school and just to clean out my son's locker because, he's a 13-year-old boy and I figured that'd be really nasty for a couple weeks. And there was no control. It was just like, hi. And you just kind of walk in. And I mean, I was one of the only people there, but walk in, clean out the locker and left. So, very different situations and handling of it. But again, middle school, high school already have their devices. So I know we're doing meal drop off on buses. Like Chris was saying, they were doing Chromebooks. So I know that's, a possibility there kind of as well. So that's how they're handling it kind of at the different levels. They have the schools open till 2:30. Well, a few more minutes today. And then the school district buildings are locked up. Like teachers can't enter or anything. So
I think a lot of what we're dealing with is rampant confusion.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is even as we started this video chat, our deputy superintendent once again gave a definition of what supplemental meant, because we can only do supplemental teaching. And as far as we know, it just gets a little bit more restrictive in terms of you ought to be putting something out there of some sort, but you still can't grade it. You still can't demand it. You still cannot use it to in any way distinguish between the equity of one student or another, but you ought to be doing it, whatever that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I think that's part of understanding this. And this is something, so there's a couple things that have come out, and I've been talking about this with different people. And so some of you have heard this already, but one of the nice things about this is we can learn a lot from schools who have already been in this 6, 7, 8 weeks. So there is a lot of information that is coming out of specifically my network, which is international schools out of Asia. And so these schools have been in this for 7, 8, 9 weeks already. And some of the key takeaways that have come out for us to remember as we're getting started is this idea that usually they are not seeing full engagement from their students until about week 3. That week 1 was very much like everything that you're explaining. Like it's kind of the school's trying to figure it out. Teachers are trying to figure it out. Everybody's just kind of figuring out week 1. So the idea that there isn't quote unquote learning happening or however you want to state that, I think this is going to be pretty normal. And what they were saying is in week 2, they started to see about halfway through week 2, the mindset of kids starts to shift as well. It's like, well, this is boring. I'm now at home. I've had my quote unquote snow days for those of us here in the, in the Northwest. Kids are kind of like, woohoo, school's out. And all of a sudden you're bored. You can't go outside. You're at home. And they start to see kids come back to school. And so really what they showed was in week 3, it was the 3rd week before they had full engagement. They felt like learning was happening. Things were getting done on the home front. And I think that's the thing to remember. And back to your point, Tyler, is like, we're back to Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like families are trying to figure this out for themselves. They're trying to get themselves situated. So I think taking it slow in week 1 and
not even, I have school districts that haven't even put anything out there yet. It's just get yourself situated, take some time for yourself. And then starting Monday or Tuesday next week, we will slowly start to introduce what this is going to look like. And I think that's just something to remember. And that is what's coming out of other areas that have been in this, is it's going to take almost 3 weeks before you really start to get this new engine up and rolling. So the thing I keep telling teachers is just give yourself a break. It's going to take some time. Nicole, what does this look like from a music standpoint? What are some of the things you're doing?
Yeah, it's funny that you should ask that, because I'm actually in 2 Facebook groups. One is like online music educators creating online learning or something like that, and the other is music teachers for Google Classroom. I was added to it like sometime last week by one of my friends, and it had just like roughly over 2,000 people in the group. It's now up to like almost 25,000 people. Wow. In just a week. There's definitely a huge push for resources, because we are really a curriculum and like a content that doesn't typically exist in an online space very often. I'm really lucky that because I have my background in educational tech, like with my master's degree work, I actually had a lot of resources that I was able to share out to the public really quickly. It's been kind of cool to see the traffic like on my blog of the people who are downloading and using what I've given them. But there's just this huge, at first it was, where is all the things that we need to do to give to students? And now the conversation is really shifting to like, because we're a content where it's all about community and that connection piece, how can we provide that in a virtual environment? Because many of our students are really seeking that connection piece, but it's really hard to offer. So some people are doing like virtual choir things, where people record part recordings and then they splice it together to create a choir. Next week, I'm rolling out a virtual ukulele sing and jam club, essentially,
cool,
where students can join my Google Classroom, and we're going to meet in Zoom, and everyone's going to mute their mics. I'll pull stuff up on the screen, and we'll kind of have like a karaoke jam party. But I think at first it was a lot of panic, and now we're kind of in the resolute, we have to figure out how to make this work phase. And it's really cool to see the community really band together and share what we know and brainstorm and kind of bounce off of each other. It's exciting because typically music is very avoid tech at all costs, because we're the dying art form that everyone must experience personally to remind us of our humanity. But to see that adoption of like, okay, we have to live with this right now. We have no control. How can we make the best out of a bad situation?
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about elementary. And Shannon, I'm gonna start with you. So Shannon's a 4th grade teacher, and just what's this look like equity-wise for you? The online, offline, what's that kind of look like for you in the elementary?
Well, for my class specifically, my partner and I on Friday, when we kind of knew this was coming down, sent out a survey to all of our students just to figure out who had access and who didn't have access to computers and such. And my partner had 7 kids out of 29, and I had about 1 out of 29 that did not have access. So we put together on Friday learning packets with books and magazines and games and paper, pencil. We gave them all an envelope, just to keep them busy this week while we try to figure out where we're at. But just as Jen had said, our expectation is that by Monday we will have a digital activities available, and that those activities can also be translated into paper, pencil, if you will. So my partner and I created what I think is some fun activities for next week that, again, they're just enrichment activities, but we're going to have them build forts. It's a fort challenge next week. They have to build a fort. They have to write step-by-step directions on how to rebuild that fort. They have to take pictures or draw pictures of their fort, calculate the width, the depth, the height of the fort. So we just kind of incorporated a lot of reading, writing, and math into the one activity.
Wow, very cool.
And then we're going to also throw in some math activities, and I'm trying to do my read aloud digitally.
Very cool. I had a third grade teacher I was working with when I was in Luxembourg.
And I know my internet is leggy. I live up in the mountains. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. This third grade teacher I was working with, her project was to make a stand-up desk as kind of their makerspace time. And then the kids, very much like you, had to take a photo of the desk, and we had measurements for math, and we're doing all this really cool stuff. But then she had challenged herself to like make a stand-up desk as well. So anything that I think builds community like that, and be thinking about how do you, and again, not every activity in a virtual learning situation should be on the computer. How do you create situations like this? Like, go build a fort. You've got 7 weeks. Go build a fort and give us the width and the depth and stuff. I think that's just a fantastic time. Let's talk a little bit of some of the structures that are being put in place at the district level, or maybe with your teams. Of how are your teams, or you're at a district level, how are you staying together? And Troutman, I'm going to pick on you because it was awesome this morning. I don't know how you felt about it, but just a background real quick. Moses Lake every morning at 9:00 is live on YouTube, and Troutman, I'll have you, Stephen, I'll have you take it from there, because it was pretty cool. We had like 50 teachers in the chat room on YouTube this morning watching this live.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I will put a link to my YouTube channel in here in case you want to watch, and you're welcome to chime in and ask questions if you want. But the first thing we did when we sent teachers out is we told them, like, check in with your kids. I mean, kind of like what Tyler was talking about, that hierarchy. So like, we're sending kids home to different situations. Some of the things that teachers were hearing from kids were, I don't like being at home all the time. I like coming to school. I like to connect. And so it was really important to tell teachers, like, connect with your kids, even if like we don't want to do content yet, right? So I just thought, like, we should be leading that as a teaching and learning team and showcasing what we're doing. And big shout out to our superintendent, who has sent home update videos like every single night, and has, instead of just sending this big old email, he attaches the transcript, but he records a video and sends it out to kind of model that. So it's been a progression. I was like, Tuesday, let's do it. And like, if it crashes and burns, who cares? Because we're trying to model vulnerability. Well, it crashed and burned because I tried to use some resources that teachers could use, and I tried to combination Google Meet to stream, because you can stream through Google Meet, calendar events, and Zoom. The problem was the only audio input was my microphone, so people like tuned in and were like, and then I used a back channel in Padlet as the chat, and so people were like commenting on the Padlet like, we can't hear anybody, and so I was like, oh no. So I figured out what happened, but as a backup, I recorded the Zoom meeting, so I just uploaded that as a video to YouTube. So then yesterday and today, I roped my teaching and learning team, the other instructional coaches, into streaming. And so you can't get, at least if you know a way, that'd be great. But I have yet to find a way to get your screen as part of the stream without third-party software. So I found something that was free, open source, OBS. It's super easy to use. Honestly, it took me a 20-minute YouTube video to figure out. And then we just all hopped in a Zoom call, and I just used YouTube to stream that. And then I sent that link out to our staff, and I said, come in and ask questions. And so we all kind of had the stream up. I could look at my questions. Jeff hopped on there. He texted us and said, hey, invite me to the Zoom call. So we got, which was great. And so they got to see all of the coaches. They got to see our executive director of teaching and learning. And then I've set it up to be reoccurring, because we've told our teachers, like, have something like a daily check-in with your kids by 9 a.m. every single day. So we're gonna live stream at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. And we've got this group hangout going for the teaching and learning team, and they were resistant at first. They were like, all right, like, let's do it. And now they're planning Monday's stream. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think we had there was almost 50 teachers watching live. And my favorite part was the chat on YouTube was like kids for the first time. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Just like your kids are the first time they see you on video. It was really cool. And teachers had some great questions. They were asking about different resources and what are some different things to expect, or how much should I expect as a parent for my kid to be working at home. So what a great opportunity from a district level, kind of being able to, fit that stuff in.
Well, one of the most valuable pieces of feedback I got yesterday was from a teacher who I did it at noon too. I'll do that Tuesday, Thursday. And I just grabbed some teachers who were just on fire and excited, and I'm calling it the lunch break. And they just sat there and talked for, about kind of nothing. Like they start off, the stream starts off by one of the people who has chickens. She said, hey, I went to the store and there were no eggs at the store, and my chickens are giving me like 7 or 8 a day. So if you guys need eggs, let me know. And then it was just that for the next hour.
Yeah.
They talked about content, but one of the teachers in the chat said, I love these things because they help me feel like I'm still connected to my colleagues. And I was like, it was so cool.
And I think that's an important part is are other schools setting up virtual staff meetings for teams, or so like in Luxembourg where I just came from, every team once a week. So the 4th grade team gets together once a week, and the 3rd grade team gets together once a week, and they're using Google Hangouts or Google Meet. And they've decided that that's what they're going to do to try to, again, stay together as a community and just, support each other through this. Does anybody else have some kind of structure set up? Tina, what do you guys think?
That's kind of what we focused on all this week with getting the devices out, is getting everybody, all the teachers up and comfortable with Google Meet. Made a resource, sent that out to everybody so they knew little pieces that they needed. And then the staff, the principals are all doing their staff meetings.
Cool.
I think we had one with 40 on Thursday, and then they're assigned PLCs. They have to do meets all next week, and they have to common plan. And that's a big thing with that equity, is sending home the same work to every student in 1st grade.
Yeah.
So, but Meet's been going pretty well.
That's good. And I think one thing too, again, some of the stuff that's been coming out of Asia that has been closed down for a long time, is that what they found is being able to hold almost office hours. They saw a lot more kids show up than to say, first period is from 8 until 9, second period is from 9 until 10, and expecting kids to be there. What they found is if there was an expectation that my class of 29 kids needed to all be online at 2:00, that they were causing a lot of stress within families. And if you had 2 or 3 kids trying to all use one device, that it was really causing a lot of stress to the family. So what they moved to, and what they are talking about that is showing success, is this idea of having teachers set up office hours, and then to move those office hours so that different groups of kids get different opportunities, because not every kid's going to be able to meet you at 9 a.m. or not every kid's going to be able to meet you at 3 p.m. But the idea that you just send out to your class in Google Classroom, hey, I'm going to be on Google Hangouts or Google Meets or Zoom or whatever the product is from 9 until 10, feel free to drop by. Or I'm going to be on here from 1 until 2, feel free to drop by. Right? And what they're finding is they're seeing a higher level of engagement. And when kids are coming, they have questions. The kids are hanging out then as a class. The other cool thing at a high school and middle school level is you can do that, and you don't have to do it for each individual period. You can just say, I'm online from 9 till 10. And if 150 kids show up, fantastic. If 2 kids show up, one in period 1 and one in period 3, so what? And so it's just giving everybody that flexibility from learning at home. So that was one recommendation that has come out of Asia, is that idea of using office hours rather than, period 3 is going to be from 4 to 5 o'clock, because it is adding stress. So just another kind of tip of things that we're seeing that are working. So cool. Anything else?
So are people using Google Meets or using Zoom? I mean, what's the better platform we should be having our teachers using?
That's a good question.
We were told, I was told by my IT director yesterday to not use Zoom. We're going to focus on Meets, just because it's part of the world that we live in. We're in the Google world, right? So we're going to focus on Google Meets, Google Classroom as kind of our LMS, if you will. And then some Google Suite stuff, along with a few iPad and like Padlet and things like that. And I was on the 30th, when we get back from spring break, I'm going to be leading a training for the district and building administrators on Google Classroom and on Google Meets. Like, how do you actually do this virtual staff meeting? How do you use it so they can start modeling for their staff? Because most of them aren't, and they don't know how to do that yet. So we're going to spend probably a good portion of the day working on that, so they can get that idea that you guys talked about the virtual staff meeting and the office hours and that sort of thing to their staff.
Yeah.
And if I can add, so Jen, to answer your question, which one's better? Whichever one your teachers are comfortable with right now. Like, that's one of the things that we've been talking about a ton is so often people are like, we're panicking and throwing a ton of new stuff instead of pausing and saying, like, there's already a lot of stress. Where are we already at? Because really, and I don't mean to sound super pessimistic, but like, if you weren't moving this direction already, now's not the time, right? Like now is not the time to be throwing all the new ed tech stuff at teachers and hoping that it goes well. Like, find the stuff that teachers are using. And obviously, like, there's going to be gaps where new things do need to be brought in. But if there's something that's already filling a need, like, go with that. That's what I've had a couple teachers already ask me, like, what do I need to learn? What do I need to do? And the first thing I say is, what do you already know? Because I think all of us are freaked out, and it's nice to start from a place of confidence instead of a place of lacking when it comes to ed tech, especially right now.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things is almost every school district that I work with had shut off Google Hangouts and Google Meets for kids because we didn't want them to talk and chat to each other. And then we get in this situation, and what's the first thing everybody has to turn on? Is like, oh my gosh, we've got this amazing tool that we haven't allowed you to use, but here we go. We want you to be able to get on video and chat to each other. And I just love it. Like, right. It's so.
So how do you convince your district to turn that back on?
Yes.
Well, if it's virtual learning, you need to have some platform like that. And I would say because much like Tyler and Chris were saying, it's already part of G Suites. To me, that is the easiest one to turn back on. As far as quality goes, I think Zoom is probably way better quality when it comes to audio and video. It scales very well. I know maybe Stefan can talk about this. I think, Stefan, you got the free upgrade as an education when they set it out. What was that process like?
For Zoom, you're talking, right?
Yeah, for Zoom.
Yeah. Sorry, back Zoom and Meets. Yeah, I mean, I just logged in to Zoom with my school district account, and there's a green banner on the top that says you've got all the stuff. So we didn't do anything extra. We didn't activate it for a school or anything. Just there. And our district's pretty good about. I mean, the first thing out of someone's mouth on Friday, as soon as the announcement came out, was our kids need Hangouts. And I was pretty vocal when they took it away 2 years ago when I was a classroom teacher, and I was like, but now our kids have not had that chat platform for the last 2 years, and that's 2 years of lost opportunity to teach them digital citizenship based on that. So they have that, and we got some of those questions this morning about what about kids when they're chatting with each other, and someone just said they have access to video chat with each other. Yeah. But like, I mean, we need that communication with kids, and if we can teach them to use it appropriately, So I think our next step, something I've been asking our district for last couple of days, is when do we get to start doing some intentional parent training? And here are some things that you should be doing with your kids: setting up schedules, setting up a workspace, monitoring their online behavior, those types of things.
So just to be clear, if you go to Zoom, as long as you use a school district account, you can't use your Gmail account or your Outlook account. But if you use a school district account, then basically it was instant access, right, for you? Yeah. And Linda, you're shaking your head. You had the same kind of experience as well. Yeah. Okay.
And after I read, Canvas actually put out a great blog about integrating video conferencing with Canvas, which the one they're using right now is not terribly reliable. Jessica, don't laugh too much. But you can integrate either Zoom or Google Meet through Canvas. So that might be another way if that's the LMS you're using. But yeah, when I went and played with Zoom again, and the neat part about it is the free Zoom is really pretty powerful anyway. What it does is it takes away the 40-minute limit on the meetings.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
And I know another school I was working with is using Schoology, and Schoology has a built-in thing called Conferences, which is basically this built-in, not near the quality of Zoom. Again, I mean that's what sets Zoom apart, is the quality of this is incredible, but that's what it's using. So, Jen, I don't know. I would say my first thing is, I know you guys are a Google district. I would say turn on Meets. I think that's as easy and as straightforward, and it's right there inside the entire Google system. I heard one school district that I was talking with, and maybe one of you can verify or deny or tell me that this isn't right, but somebody was even saying that the chat that happens inside of a Google Hangout can also be recorded through like GoGuardian or Class Policy or something like that behind the scenes. And I don't know if any of you can affirm or deny that. Doesn't look like anybody's moving. But that was another thing that people said that they kind of liked, that if you have a GoGuardian or some kind of filter system in place, that the chat feature could be captured by that. And so some districts were feeling more secure about that, where with Zoom, none of that stuff is going to be captured by your filtering system, from my understanding. That's my understanding as it stands right now. But so
I can tell you, when I talked with Chris today, his worry was with opening up Google Hangouts. High school has it, middle school and elementary don't have it. And his worry was, okay, we're Google District, we now open this up and we have some kid who's getting cyber bullied constantly for the next 4 weeks while we opened it up. Whereas if they're using Zoom, they went outside of what we are saying is our preferred platform and did that. So they were concerns about how do we monitor it. There was a reason we turned it off originally for middle school and elementary. What happens and how do we police that, for lack of a better word, I guess.
Yeah. And fair enough. Those are concerns. And we don't have answers to those right now, which way to go with that. So anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. It's been I didn't know if we would go a full hour, and we've almost gone a full hour. Anybody else have any last burning questions or things they want to share, or how things are going? Or
I'm still curious about how everybody's handling the Wi-Fi or hotspots. That's our biggest question before we move forward, is the hotspots and Wi-Fi. Comcast says free, but I can't figure out what they're saying is free.
We have Charter offering free for students for 60 days, and they don't have to show have to have a kid in the house of, either at a college or at an elementary, middle school, high school. And they can call a number, and that's been supported through the school district as well. So that's gone out as a lot of messaging out about that. So I know that is one. It depends.
Sorry, there was a helicopter going over.
Charter Spectrum, but it really depends who the provider is locally, because they're all different. I know North Franklin, just like half an hour or hour north of us, has different providers, but they were offering free services as well. So it all kind of depends, sadly, but most of them are offering some sort of free version for students.
Yeah. Other strategies that I've seen done is, and I don't know the entire setup down there in Orting, but I've seen some school districts who had Wi-Fi enabled school buses, being able to set those up, and especially in parking lots of, say, you have a low income apartment complex that has a lot of your students in it, be able to set that up. I've seen school districts who have taken the school Wi-Fi and turned the entire school Wi-Fi public, so that entire bandwidth can be used by students. So, you have to leave your house, but you can sit in your car in the parking lot and get Wi-Fi as a way of getting around that, or go sit on the playground somewhere that the Wi-Fi reaches. So those are other things that I've seen going on. I know that, and over here, I know up in Everett, north of Seattle here, I think T-Mobile, they've got some T-Mobile like USB 4G USB sticks that they're handing out. Now, I don't know how they're doing that, if the kids come to the school and pick them up, or if it's a free and reduced lunch.
That's kind of where we were looking, is to get T-Mobile hotspots for like $30.
Yeah.
But some of our kids are so rural that won't even work, because they don't have.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cool.
But nobody's heard about the Comcast.
Has anybody heard of the Comcast one?
I've heard of it, but I haven't tried to access it or set it up. There's a link that they can go in and apply for this free for the next 2 months or whatever it was. But I always worry about giving those free things out, because they don't stay free, and I hope that they don't charge them after the fact, once it comes back live.
Yeah, that's always the issue.
I have a student that took advantage he got set up this week on the Comcast. Again, one of the things he has to handle it schools, otherwise they're going to get charged a bunch of money.
Yeah.
The other thing that could be helpful to look into is, I know a bunch of them have their free for 2 months right now, but most internet providers also have a subsidized plan if you qualify for under a certain income level. We've been talking about looking into that a little bit, just because it seems to be a more sustainable option, and something where, because that is my concern, is I haven't read the fine print. I don't know what it looks like after those 2 months. So the option is one that we're really looking at.
Yeah. It's a good question. I don't know if we have all the answers to it yet. And again, we're in week 1, so hopefully some of these questions will continue to kind of figure out their stuff, and we kind of find our way through this together. So that's a good one. So anyway, well, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do this again next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit sospodcast.org, facebook.com/Jeff Udick, and on Twitter @JUdick. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Shifting Our Schools.